Ariel and our brother-in-law Phil the Vicar have put together an online discussion about being a Christian and being an atheist, and I thought this was so interesting listening to them talk about it that I decided I would record my answers to the questions as well. Who am I and what's my job? My name's Howell, I'm a particle physicist, but I now make my living as a fetish photographer and filmmaker. I'm an atheist. Have I ever been a Christian? Actually, in my own terms, I consider myself to be an agnostic. I don't know whether there's a God or not, or if there is one, what they might be like. In organised religion terms, though, I'm an atheist, because if there is a God, I don't think it's at all likely that any religion has privileged information about them. I'm fairly certain that all religions are loose assemblages of stories created and spread by human beings in an attempt to explain and control the world around them. What's my most compelling argument for believing what I believe? I think it's probably the simple fact that you have to use the word belief in there. If the claims of religion were true, I think we'd have much stronger evidence for them. For a start, I'd expect the major world religions to agree with each other much more than they do if there was actually some God behind them. We'd expect them to crop up independently on different continents, so there could have been a divine revelation without missionaries. We'd expect religious experiences and revelations to possess much more internal consistency, rather than just latching on to whatever you happen to have been brought up to take seriously. In what way does your belief system make your life better? We have to think for ourselves about stuff. We can find stuff out and it turns out that it works. We can decide how to act as a society and as individuals. It's all on us to make meaning from our lives, to figure out moral ways of living. That's hugely liberating. Conversely, the responsibility is all on us if we fuck up too. If we make a mess, we'll have to clean it up ourselves. But that's just great. Is there anything you envy people who believe something different for? Not really on mature reflection. There's some things that seem sort of glibly persuasive, like the comfort of believing that you're going to meet a loved one in the afterlife. I can see that that's very comforting to many people. Conversely, it means that you don't have to try very hard to get everything right in this life. That doesn't seem very, very positive. So no, by and large, religions seem quite oppressive to me. So no, I quite like my codified doubt system. Is there anything you're ashamed of in the behaviour of people who believe the same as you? Sure, some atheists are dicks. Some atheists have just latched onto this bandwagon as a nya, I hate you, us and them, in-group, out-group, and they behave the way that dicks always do. And many religious people are absolutely lovely. I think probably that the lovely ones would be lovely even if they weren't religious, and the dicks would be dicks even if they were being a dick about theology rather than anti-theology. What is the best thing about your belief system? I would say it's that you don't have to believe anything without evidence. And if there is evidence, you can go and check it out for yourself. The degree of reliance you place upon any conjecture or anything that you're told is in proportion to the quality and quantity of the evidence in its favour, which you can go and assess for yourself if you need to. You won't get it all right, and that's okay. Science is all about gradually finding out the ways that you're wrong and kind of trying to correct that. So you're positively encouraged to discover that you're wrong. Be happy about it. Be energetic about improving things. How certain are you that you're right about what you believe? As to the existence or otherwise of a divine creator, very uncertain. But that the divine creator has not revealed themselves to one particular small group of human beings through peculiar altered mental states, then dictating reams of self-contradictory scripture that, funnily enough, never offer the solution to the Riemann hypothesis, or explain the origin of space-time, or say that, oh, by the way, HIV causes AIDS, or explain the next to leading order contributions to the multi-jet rates at the LHC, I'm pretty damn certain that no religious revelation is actually something handed down by God. Was there a defining moment for you that led to your current belief? I guess for me it was infant school, where I realised that there were three classes of stories. Category 1 was the sort of story that was true, or at least real, and had to be taken seriously. And by and large, eventually you realise that those are amenable to test at some level. So science, obviously, but also things like archaeology and history. Class 2, the sort of story where you have to be polite to talking animals or bad stuff happens to you. Fiction, fairy stories, these are things that you're not meant to take seriously or literally true, even if they provide serious moral points, like being nice to intelligent creatures. And class 3, this is the sort of story which seems exactly like class number 2, with burning bushes and arcs and floods and 2x2s and all of that, but for which, for some unspoken reason, are meant to be treated like class 1, stuff that you can test, that's science. I could see nothing about the stories in this third category to distinguish them from the stories in the second category. And so I was baffled as to why we were expected to treat them with the same seriousness as category 1 stuff that was real. Where do you see the strengths and failures of your worldview in liberating people sexually? Well, demonstrably, more secular societies in the modern era tend to be more accepting of LGBT plus and kinky sexualities. Religion may once have been a force for liberalisation around sexualities, I guess, but for the whole of my lifetime, religion has been a force for social and sexual conservatism, repression, and indeed oppression. Because one has to think for oneself to acquire any sort of moral compass as an atheist, one is forced to question prevailing social attitudes and ask if they're moral and laudable. Where do you see the most interesting overlaps between atheist and Christian worldviews? Well, for me, Christianity, at least the sort of wishy-washy Christianity, has the golden rule of do unto others as you would have them do unto you, as do most other major religions and moral systems. So at least there's a basis for mutual understanding in there. Do you have a sense of what the process would be to lose your conviction? I try not to be too convinced by anything, ever. I think the claims of privileged truth by organised religions are quite extraordinary, so taking them seriously would take a lot of compelling, high-quality evidence. But I hope that I would be open to examining those claims and adjusting my probability judgments accordingly. In some ways, the conversion that I worry about is not losing my conviction, it's becoming too convinced about anything ever, becoming rigid-minded and no longer capable of changing my mind.